E timatanga kōrero māku e hihana hau te tāpirihia oku mihi oku kupu poroporaki ki te rau ngā hoia kua hinga i te muratahi ara Rūtene Tim O'Donnell. Ka mihi hoki ki tōna whānau, me ona hoa e noho ana me tēnei kapua pauri kei rongi a rātou. Mr. Speaker, I'd just like to begin by adding my condolences to the family and friends and colleagues of Lieutenant Tim O'Donnell, who, as we know, was the first soldier to lose his life in Afghanistan. But, Mr. Speaker, I'd just like to come to the substance of my speech, which is that New Zealanders are looking for a plan. New Zealanders want to know what the plan is that this government has in place to make life better for us all, to improve our economy, to close the wage gap that has spiralled out to over $50, the wage gap between us, New Zealanders and Australia. Not only that wage gap, but the disparity between the incomes of men and women in New Zealand. And I get the feeling from the way that Minister Wong avoided the question today that her plan to close the gap between the incomes of men and women in New Zealand is actually to allow the unemployment rate to continue to spiral. When more men are losing their jobs, that means that our wages are going to decrease and therefore close the gap in that rather negative way. New Zealanders are wanting to know what the plan is that this government has, that it's going to make it easier for mums and dads to buy food, buy clothes, pay the rent, pay the bills, and just to provide the essentials and the necessities for their families. We haven't yet seen a plan from this government, and we're not holding our breaths in the hope that we will see one soon. I have to say, though, there is a plan for education, and that is the much vaunted national standards. The only trouble is that this national government doesn't actually believe that the national standards are going to be very effective. And how do we know that? What's the evidence of that? Well, let me tell you, if I was the Minister of Education and I explained my flagship policy for education, that policy would be there to make sure that achievement rose, that kids, when they graduated from school, had better prospects, better opportunity, higher qualifications, and they would go on to lead productive lives and contribute to their communities. Unfortunately, 2 weeks ago we heard the Deputy Prime Minister tell the country that over the next 5 to 10 years that the biggest ministry that the government is going to have will be in corrections. Now, when we have the Deputy Prime Minister say that corrections is going to be the biggest ministry over the next 5 to 10 years, that tells me they have absolutely no faith in the effectiveness of their flagship education policy. So that is the plan you have when you actually don't have a plan. And we can see that it's getting under their skin, the fact that we're telling them that they don't have a plan, and the country is believing us, because we can see it in their eyes and we can hear it in their speeches. I sat in this house last night and I listened to the 10-minute speeches, 30 seconds of which started off with the members opposite telling us that they did have a plan, and then the remaining 9.5 minutes just going on and criticising and condemning the previous Labour government and failing to tell us exactly what their plan is. They stuck to the petty, they stuck to the irrelevant, and we still haven't heard the plan. Unless, of course, that plan is to heap misery upon hard-working New Zealanders. And I'd just like to read this email I received from Mrs. Rita Howard, who says, out of concern for my daughter who lives in Auckland, she, I feel, has been unfairly treated as part of this new regime by National. She's been employed and then re-employed by a firm, and I won't say the firm's name, but on Monday she arrived there to be told she no longer had a job. How fair or unfair is this, that this new act has been created for young people who are trying to get ahead in life? She was informed when she arrived at work she had no job. Young people, we're told that there's 70,000 people under 24 years of age who are unemployed. This mother, Rita Howard, goes on to say, I'm extremely irritated by this, as she, my daughter, has no firm leg to stand on in terms of arguing the point of unfair dismissal. So this government believes that the way that the plan forward is actually to make it easier for employers to sack their employees. Their plan is to close the wage gap, is actually to take away work so that employees actually don't have a wage. Mr Speaker, we're waiting to hear the National Party's plan.
Todd McLeod.